Okay, Hip Hop Weekly All Access. This is your girl Brianna, and we are here live today with Big Krit.
Hey, what's happening?
Mississippi's finest. What's going on?
Man, good, excited. Album's out, double album.
Right.
The support's been amazing.
Okay.
So yeah, just preparing for tour now.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've got some special guests that are hip hop heads that
Okay.
they're gonna critique and talk about the album.
Okay.
Guys, go ahead and introduce yourselves.
My name is Dynamic, Dion Moore, hip hop enthusiast.
Alright.
Alright, I'm Rainy from Rainy Sells Atlanta.
Okay. And I'm Giselle. I'm Zell.
Hey.
Zell, that's it. But Krit, I guess the purpose of this conversation is really to talk about your new album.
Okay.
I always do this
Can I
forever.
jump in one time talk about this album? I gotta salute this boy on this album right here, man. One thing about this album, it's a classic. 10 years from now, you still be bumping this. And why I say it's a classic, I compare it to that Good and Mob Soul Food.
Hey.
Now, I'm right here in front of it. So I know about this good music and the ATL. So I put up there, them albums, but
Thank you.
they compared that to me. And it'll be a classic forever to me.
Ah, man.
Classic.
Thank you.
Forever
At the time.
Forever is a very long time.
Mighty long time.
Mighty long time. Mighty
You
long
can
time.
transport it back to the Goody Mob time and still hold its weight to me. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And then bring it right back to where it is right now and hold the weight that it's holding now.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's fire.
Thank you.
That means that you definitely took time to respect the OGs. I mean, I'm listening to all the people.
Oh man,
that
they featured on it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
That's
Sleepy
ridiculous.
Brown,
You know what I'm
CeeLo,
saying?
you know what I'm saying? UGK on that
You
thing
got
too.
Big Rube on it.
Yeah, but nah, that's something to think about for the next one. Hold
Okay,
up.
no, who-
Give me
no,
some time.
this
We're not
guy was
for the next one, yeah, but I got CeeLo and Sleepy Brown on
The,
it.
the skit with the two guys from the
Oh, yeah,
the
that's-
album. That's
yeah.
what I was thinking about.
Oh, okay, then.
Yeah, that's kinda dope. But tell us about your headspace at the time this record was being made. Where were you at?
Man, to be honest with you, I was just trying to create an album without the label knowing about it at the time. I was still under Def Jam when I was making this album.
Okay.
But I was spending all of the money that I had saved up over the years in order to make it, right? And I was getting in with the producers that I wanted to get in with, going to the studios that I wanted to go to without the pressure of, okay, now it's time for you to drop an album. And in the meantime, between time, I just saw so much space that, music, wasn't coming out for me. I ended up dropping This Better This Way, and then I dropped 12 for 12. The day that 12 for 12 came out is also the day I got released from Def Jam.
Okay.
But it was so crazy because I think streaming had just happened and they didn't understand like where my core fan base still stood, which was actually physically going out and buying CDs. And so they just let me go. Like, all right, peace out, wish you the best of luck. And that was like the best thing that could happen to me because I was in the midst of pretty much done with the Big Krit side of the album as far as sonically is concerned. But then I was like, man, I want to do a double album now. And I, talked it over with my management, Dutch, and everybody. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Hey, yeah. So yeah, I talked it over with my management and everybody, and it was like, well, shoot, if you want to do a double album, then do it. You free now. You can do whatever you want to do. And I made it happen, and I was able to focus. I lived a lot of life, and not just being in the studio or on tour. I like, as far as like getting my mind right, starting to understand why I was depressed and why I was going through so much anxiety. And it was coming from chasing accolades and chasing what I saw my peers have. And the pressure that comes with dropping an album because people need it now on this deadline, that all went away, brother. And so I was able to create freely and without care, and I think it shows in the album.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. The album is broken into two different albums. You got, well, it's one double album, but it's two different spaces that you're in. You have the Big Krit space, which Dion, that's your favorite.
Hey. Big.
And then there's the Justin Scott, which is my favorite. And I think the whole body of work, that's your favorite. I mean, I'm a fan of the Big Krit the Big Krit as well. It's just like if I had to choose between the two, it would be one of the, you know what I mean?
And that's all good. Yeah.
But I guess why the breakdown between the two versions of yourself?
Man, I would say for starters, when I was always letting people I was dealing with the duality of myself, or like if you go back to the Forever and a Day cover, you have the church on one side and then the strip club on another. I think we all as human beings have that part of us where we also superheroes when we walk out and we interact with people, and that part of us that when we at home and we dealing with whatever the stresses of the world are. And for me, it was like I didn't want to have to make an album and figure out how to incorporate introspective music on it. And where can it be amongst the trunk rattling record? And this time I was like, no, I want to split it up. And the music that you're on the Justin Scott side literally is tailored off of how I feel when I'm at home and when I'm not in the space that most people might think I'm in, and where I'm questioning my faith every so often, or when I'm seeing something on TV and I can't quite understand why the world is just so violent. But then it's the Big K.R.I.T side when I'm carefree of all that. All my confidence is high, and I'm I'm not worried about anything. I got these hater blockers on, and I'm just going for my goal. And I think it was necessary to show the two sides, especially now more than ever in my life, because I've dealt with the alcoholism and battling that. I've dealt with depression, anxiety, but then I've also went on stage right after, and you wouldn't have known. But now I get to have those conversations with people. I get to have the radio conversations about what I think a lot of America, a lot of the world is going through too, which is the what about tomorrow, like what happens next kind of thing. So,
Right.
Yeah.
I must say, you know what I'm saying, I love that mixed message, that song right there. So when you spoke about that, how you battle, you know what I'm saying, hey, you got Justin Scott, then you got Big K.R.I.T. So when you talk about that mixed message, like I'm confused. Saying one minute I want to be rich, but then at the same time I want to give. So, hey, dope album.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. And again, mixed messages could not have worked on the Big K.R.I.T side. It would have diluted everything on that side once you heard it. But on the Justin Scott side, it helps you understand why the Big K.R.I.T side is the way it is. Yeah.
So, of course, I'm sure the Justin Scott side, the #2 track with the
that's mixed messages #2. The intro is the Justin Scott intro.
Justin Scott intro.
And then we got Keep the Devil Off.
The Lucifer. I mean the Shake the Devil Off.
Keep the Devil Off.
Keep the Devil Off.
Yeah,
bro. That's my get up in the morning song, bro. That's my get up, go to work in the morning song, man. They keep the devil off. You gotta
keep the devil off, keep the negativity off you too.
I was out and I was, I've been bigging you up the whole time the album and I was out. So I was out with one of my homeboys, just kind of like showing. We was looking at the space and just telling him about, man, this record is dope. Now he's one of those older heads that's kind of fell out of love with hip hop. And we took hooked the phone up to the Bluetooth and played the Shake the Devil Off. Man, we was all in there like dancing because it's funny, man, because it's like gospel. But then it's a little bit of joint music.
It's still southern with the 808s and the snares.
So quick question, do you think they can play that in church?
Definitely.
Feel good about it?
It's clean. It's clean. I don't curse in that at all.
There you go then.
Nah, that was on purpose, bro. I can't do a song like that and then curse. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing violent. There's nothing negative, no sort. It's literally about keeping the devil off, keeping the negativity off you. And then the fact that I'm from Mississippi, which is the Bible Belt, that's also due to like how my grandmother raised me, like very in the church. And so that's a part of me too. I'm a very spiritual person, God fearing. So I have to put that in my music.
So when you say speak about your grandma, it made me think about me and my cousin, you know what I'm saying? We grew up driving Cadillacs, Caprices, you know what I'm saying, with the brains blowed out. So we'll take our grandma to church, you know what I'm saying, because we're at that age, we're feeling good, cleaned up. And we were like, man, we can't turn the bass up too high. You know what I'm saying? Grandma don't play, they got the right music. But you want to go to church feeling good. So we play that song. I think grandma
she'll understand. And trust me, the frequency of the bass is to the point where if you ain't got 215s, it ain't gonna get too out of control. But it's there. It's there, man. It's for them 15. But then the organ too. That's why the extended. We dropped the single version, which is like 3 minutes and 30 seconds. But on the album, it's the extended version is 5 minutes 35 seconds. It's that big organ breakdown because that's how it is in church, where it all get quiet, the choir kind of fall off, and everybody just kind of get in their mode, and it all come back in.
I'm about to call up the V103, and they gonna have to start.
Hey man, believe that though. I mean, but that's the kind of record where I don't think it's gonna go anywhere because at all times you should be trying to keep it there.
Exactly.
But you reach a lot of people with that music, man.
No doubt.
Because I remember, like, I really got spiritual through Good and Mall.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? I went to church all the time, but I heard one of Good and Mall classes, so I was soulful. And I'm like, man.
It made it cool to
I think I was 16, so the main thing about the generation under me, you know what I'm saying, that 17, 18 out there traveling, well in the streets, kind of lost, they hit that song right there, inspiration to them.
Lord willing, man.
Appreciate that.
No doubt, brother. And it's, again, I think us as artists, we also have to we have to give. Obviously, you trying to tell people, motivate them, yeah, go get money and all that stuff, man. But you got to give them the other side of the spectrum, especially when you realize, and I did, that money ain't gonna make you happy. Sure. All these things that I acquired through the success of dropping these albums, man, at some point it just wasn't enough. And you're always trying to grab for more, but it's those people around you, your family, your loved ones, your girl and all that really kind of keep you motivated and keep you going. Because when you isolated and you just getting materials, bro, that ain't it. You just gonna get more. Yeah. Oh, straight up, bro.
Where do you see this album right now as far as putting you you said something earlier about your peers, and I guess when I'm thinking about who you came out with, I'm looking at the Kendrick, J. Cole, even with Wiz and K.R.I.T, all these guys. So I'm like, where do you feel like this is gonna put you with this album?
I think I'm in my own space, brother. Right. I realized something a long time ago that people compare me to me. Right. Mostly in anything to my old music. It's like I'm always trying to outdo Krit was here and return to forever. The space that I'm in, and being that I'm from Mississippi, and being that I've had to travel so long, the story and how it's been for me is just going to be different. Right. And I'm comfortable with that. But now that I know that I'm mostly competing, if anything, with myself and my older projects, feeling like this is the best project I put out completely, it makes it easier going into the next one. Because all I'm doing is being myself. I'm not trying to keep up with the cadences that everyone's kicking. I'm not trying to keep up with the signings. I'm not interested in the beef or any of that stuff, man. I'm being who I am. And it took longer. It's the road less traveled, but it's paid off for me. Yeah. So,
the last time we got together to have a discussion, it was with your Mississippi brethren, Banner. Yeah. And he kind of opened my eyes a little bit to something that maybe I was ignorant to before, and something that you've addressed in previous interviews about lyricism in the South. Tell us, who were your influences? Because Banner was saying that one of the best lyricists in the South was Juvenile, and was one of the people he looked up to, as well as Pimp C and Bun. Who were your? Yeah,
I'm sorry, you good, man. I don't know how much be doing now. This is a long. I'm supposed to be doing some decent song. My bad.
But who? Like, your cadence is unique. I'm correcting myself.
No, it's all good.
But who were your influences? Who brought you to?
Man, I would definitely say UGK. Outkast, 8Ball and MJG, Project Pat. Definitely with his cadence and how he can make words rhyme. It's just like, how is he making this rhyme?
Right.
Or Scarface. Biggie was a big influence for me on cadence. I think Biggie was very phenomenal with being able to find a pocket and stick with it. And his inflections were kind of phenomenal. He could change his voice at a whim and sound like a totally different person. That takes a lot of skill. Pac definitely was one of those people, based off of the amount of passion and aggression that he could have in a song, and still be able to have the wind and the know-how to put the words together. Because it's very easy to not only hit the red, but lose people when you try to put too much emotion into a song. But those would be the base influences for me, right? And again, understanding just cadence and how to carry it, whether you're on the kick drum, you're on the snare, on the hi-hat, and finding that pocket. Ludacris would be another person.
Ludacris,
When you talk about the influences, we're really talking about lyrics, but let's talk about the production. Who's your influence in production?
Oh man, Banner being not only a rapper, but being able to produce too.
Right.
And understanding how to make something super aggressive, but then how to make a Cadillac on 22. Pimp, a lot of people didn't know Pimp C made beats, right? But understanding how to have something super soulful, sample, but it's still knocking. 3 6 Mafia, being able to sample something super soulful, but it's knocking. Like these, I mean, because you got Dilla, you got Premier, and that was more of the East Coast vibe and feel when you talk about drums and patterns and samples. But I definitely took a lot from the southern aspect of flipping a sample, because there's something about those triplet hi-hats that 3 6 Mafia was putting in those records that drove them over Willie Hutch samples. Then you talking about with Suave House, you know what I'm saying, and how 8Ball and MJG production, which were a lot of those was, they had samples, but they just knocked, bro. It had this feel to it. And so I was very much influenced by that production. Organized Noise was monsters too. Yeah. And I don't even think they was sampling half the time. It just sounded right.
Because you had that
they would actually go
come down.
They would actually break out the guitar. And
yeah,
sleepy
around
waterfalls and whatnot.
Yeah.
You got some good players in here though, as far as the instruments, as far as the bass player. I want to say on was it Ride? No. The end of one of them songs on the K.R.I.T side.
Okay, then. Well, I know "Get Up to Come Down." Mike Hardin played the bass at the end.
Okay.
So if you talking about how that just kind of started flaring out, Mike Hardin killed that.
Awesome.
He's also played the bass on "Money on the Floor." He's played the bass on a few records. He's also the guitarist on "Keep the Devil Out."
Okay.
Yeah. So he's been a part of a lot of records that I put out over the years as well.
I like that. The fact that you can pull a sample but then have that original music to go along with it.
It takes a lot because you don't want to mess up the integrity of the original song because it was finished. They knew it was it. So when you go to sample, it's really easy to mess that up. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's just making sure that when we add things, it elevates the idea.
Yeah, and that's hip hop.
Yeah,
you know, that's hip hop because when you know. The history of hip hop is the sample, but when you add that extra thing to it, it makes it sound like it belongs in a certain the category we call hip hop. Deon was telling me about your interview with our friend Rosenberg. And your knowledge of like the sample and the music. How do you get to that point? Like, how do you get to the point where you're able to identify a sample? We watched the before you came in. We watched the Mass Appeal Rhythm Roulette. How do you get to that point where you can hear that? Okay, that's a song right there.
I've been sampling and listening to old school records probably since I was 14 years old. Like really, like, what is that? How can I get that? And hoping that they left a minute and 32 seconds to loop. And then you just go from obviously black exploitation movies, definitely watching those like the Mac and Foxy Brown. Right. Not only obviously the movie, but the music behind it. So, you know.
That's the score.
Yeah, Willie Hutch. You know what I'm saying? No doubt. Like Willie Hutch is like one of them. Like definitely, like I look up to the music he made, brother. And to be in a position where a lot of people didn't know who he was. Like, but he scored The Last Dragon, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's one of my favorite movies while growing up, Bruce Leroy. And it starts off with Got the Glow, and I'm like, who is this? And it's Willie Hutch, like this jamming record. And so from there, and then New Birth and the dramatics, you know what I'm saying? And the stylistics, the ebonies, and just finding out these random people that had one song, but it was so soulful and beautiful. And just kind of diving deep, and it becomes at some point something I was addicted to, and still am digging in the crates. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, oh boy.
So I got a question. Where you at right now? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're a name to be recognized. If you could redo something different, what would you do to give advice to the young artists out there?
Wow, because it's like it's beautiful. It's beautiful to be at this point. I mean, obviously. We didn't see the streaming thing coming, but I probably would have never signed in the first place.
Because you were independent.
I was independent for. I mean, 2005 is when See Me on Top first came out, and we talking about 5 years of hardcore struggling to get to a point where you're in front of a label, and then L.A. Reid is the person who signed me. But we didn't see it coming where he was not going to be there 3 weeks later. Had he still been there, my career probably would have been totally different because it was not only he understood the music I was creating, the office was full of people who also was excited. And they all went too.
That Arista, that LaFace.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so that's when Def Jam became more of a puzzle for me because I'm trying to impress people and prove to people that this music that I'm creating is valuable that wasn't familiar with it or didn't understand who was buying it in the first place. So I think it's just being independent and staying that way would probably be one of those things. But I learned the business. The artist in me would have been like, yeah, just stay independent. But the businessman is like, no, we need to go through that. Because now I understand the inner workings of marketing and publishing, and where the money goes and how you can really save on recording if you know how to and the know-how. And it doesn't take a lot to create an album. It sounds great. You just have to not only have these relationships, you have to work with people, and you know what I'm saying, and that swap is something that it helps sometimes when you don't charge somebody off the rip. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
And now that I know that, going into working with another artist, they don't have to worry about what I dealt with. Because not only can I produce for you, I can help you understand your sound and how to bring out who you are in your music without having to sacrifice your integrity or your creative control. So
coming from, and I know we all over the place. We're not really.
No, it's all good, man.
Asking questions in a linear space, but basically, tell us about how the transition from Mississippi to Atlanta. How did that happen?
Oh man, that was me. Literally, I was going back and forth anyway because the first song I dropped that actually made it on a mixtape in Atlanta was "They Gon' Hate Though," and DJ Foe dropped it. It was mixtape was called "From the Trap to the Stroll." They had Trick Daddy and Jeezy on the front. I think that was 2003, maybe 2004, something like that. And I originally I was like it had to be 2004 because I was in like my second year of college and I dropped out because I thought I was gonna sign as soon as I came to Atlanta, and the deal wasn't right and I didn't do it, and then that created what was 5 years of grinding my ass off. You know what I'm saying? Third Coast representing Mississippi native forever. It's a mighty long time. It's out right now. Big Krit side, just got side. You know I'm rocking with Hip Hop Weekly. Shout it.